only thing they're talking about is a return on investment. And so if you think about return on investment, obviously you go to the low-cost area. So they moved from here to China, then China to Vietnam, then from Vietnam to somewhere else. And at some point you go around the globe, I don't know where it's going to end. So, and then I also found out that as they ask subcontractors to produce their product, they start losing their the skill set on how to produce. So it gets more difficult to improve their operations. So if you look at the new government program on advanced manufacturing in the US, what they are saying is that, oh, okay, we lost all the suppliers. So even if you have an idea, you can build a prototype to test. So you have to go to China to have it tested and bring it here. By the time you go back and forth, it takes too long. Then other countries pick up that idea, they build it, they make money. So the US Advanced Manufacturing Program is to build a center of excellence for different areas in manufacturing, because they lost all the supplier base. So, okay, as a country, if you lose the skill set, it's very difficult to compete. So why haven't they done it by themselves? Because the decision making is basically based on return on investment for that particular operation. And that they forgot to say there are some closed loop feedback of this learning process. Manufacturing systems area, that we have colleagues working on scheduling the factory operations, also the supply chain management. And actually another very proud achievement is the RFID tag. So you hear a lot about IoT, Internet of the Things. Yeah, those were invented in our lab. So because in older days, manufacturing was done in one roof. So everything is interconnected from raw material all the way to the final product. But now it's divided by the different tiers. So they need a much better communication between each tier. And so manufacturing systems getting much more important in modern manufacturing compared to many years ago. So the colleagues are working on that aspect of the manufacturing systems. And the sustainability area, in all the days, whatever the unnecessary material you come up with as a byproduct, you dig a ground and bury them. But it's not allowed anymore. So now one of our colleagues are looking at how to deal with those issues. And also that one of the resources we use in manufacturing is electricity. So if you can produce this electricity in a renewable way, then that's how you improve manufacturing. So we have a colleague working on photovoltaics. So you produce photovoltaic material as cost effectively as possible so that they can spread those photovoltaics to the wider use. I think anybody involved in manufacturing, this will apply. So that's why I'm looking at either through the industry sectors, either automotive, either electronics, and so on, because they have a similar operations. So there might be similar kind of the technology multiplier. So for example, in Europe, some automotive companies like BMW and Porsche, they brought in some worker back to their own company because they feel like they're losing that grip. Yeah, so they'll bring it back some. So the BMW, I think they were doing less than 20%. Now they are over 20%. They do it by themselves. For example, Korea, they have some operations in low-cost country like China or Vietnam. But some operations, they do it by themselves. They hire a Chinese worker on Chinese soil, but they send the managers from Korea to manage it. So that's how they capture all those information. You go to Vietnam, the same thing's happening. But American companies in general, when you give work to Japanese vendor, the Chinese vendor, they go there as a supervisor, but not to actually operate the factory.